Okay, welcome back everyone. Thank you for sticking around. I think we had some engaging presentations and keynotes from Enterprise Singapore and Wolfgang early this morning, so I hope that you got plenty out of that. As we get settled down, I'd like to introduce Betul Genc, who is our next presenter. She'll be presenting on a digital workforce and culture agenda or program. Betul is the SVP and head of Adecco ASEAN and has Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand and Vietnam under her care. She has worked with Adecco for 15 years or more than in diverse roles, including operations, sales and marketing and permanent recruitment, delivering solutions to many Fortune 500 companies as well as small and medium enterprises. She's a seasoned leader with demonstrated history on working with HR recruitment and consultancy, but also commercial real estate and hospitality management. She currently is working towards reinventing workforce solutions for a resilient economy and to create a talent platform to address the ever-changing landscape of skills shortage, transformation, along with her diverse team. So with her main interests in this topic and talent management and performance management, she's very well equipped to discuss and present to us the digital workforce and culture. So Betul, I welcome you to the stage. Thank you very much.
Very much, Scott, for this lovely introduction, and good morning, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm super thrilled and excited to be here. Let me first get the logistics. Okay, so as Scott mentioned, my name is Betul. I am working for Adecco, which I'm going to be telling a bit more about what we do and how we do in the recruitment and the staffing industry. And I'm going to touch base today on the digital workforce and the culture. The presentation is scheduled for roughly about 30 minutes. I'll try to see if I can finish a bit early and open the stage for any questions if there might be any. So looking forward to that as well. About me, I think Scott already mentioned, so more than 15 years with the Adecco organization, which I've covered quite a few roles, but mainly touching base on sales and operations within the organization. I've been 7 years now in Singapore, enjoying a lovely life with my 2 kids as well. About Adecco and what we do, we are a Fortune 500 company, and in 2 words, if someone would ask me what Adecco does, we are in the people business. We don't have any products, we don't manufacture anything. There is no process or life cycles I could tell you about our products, because our only assets is our people. We do deliver solutions to our customers via, again, people. So it's a very people-oriented, a very high-touch people organization that we do. And some numbers about Adecco. We are a Fortune 500 company, headquartered in Switzerland, and it's a merger from 1980s actually. We do provide individuals to find their next job or change their job. And this number is adding up to 3.5 million on an annual basis. So across the globe, with 60 countries that we operate at, we are helping 3.5 million people find their future work and see how we can help them throughout that journey. Apart from the permanent recruitment that we provide, solutions of staffing or contract staffing or augmented staffing, as we call in many ways, is also another area that we are specialized at. For whatever reason, the company is not able to hire those people or onboard those individuals on their own headcount, Adecco steps in as a legal employer, and we do also provide those as solutions. And when we look at numbers, we've got roughly about another 3 million that we operate under those models. And in Singapore, our footprint has been here for the last 30 years. We've been established in 1985, and we are still operating in the same location that we are today. And a few more numbers about us. As I said, it's 360 HR solutions. We start identifying young talents whilst they are still in the school. We do provide them career advisors all the way down to resume writing, how to ace interviews, what to say, what not to say. And throughout throughout that journey, we help them find their next opportunities, change those opportunities, reskilling, upskilling. If there is a downsizing, then our career transition services come in place. So pretty much the entire life cycle is actually covered through our services that we provide. What I wanted to touch base today and maybe bring everyone one step back is the evolution of workforce, workday, and the workplace. Today in 2020s, many things have changed. But if we just go back 50 years ago, not too far away, there are a few highlights that I'd like to bring here, which would really help us base on the workforce we are looking at today. Starting at 1970s, pretty much, top-down policy that we see. The personal liberation and rebellion is also reflected in the dress codes that we see in the offices. Come to 1980s, those that are in my age would remember there has been 2 recessions only in 3 years' time. So talking about crisis, talking about fast pace, I think 1980s would significantly make a difference for everyone to remember. And that's also the period where 9 to 5, Monday to Friday office has also came to life. Moving into 1990s, not too long, just in 10 years' time, we do see a big shift through the casual Friday, people being a bit more relaxed and chilled in the office environment, and come to 2000s with the .com, with tech, and all the shifts that we do see in the required skills as well, where there are open plans, people are, collaborating and telecommuting, and it's becoming more and more popular. The entire workplace, the workforce, as well as the workday started to shift. And I think a big milestone in everyone's lives with 2020, where we see the pandemic hitting and the entire workforce and the workplace changing, it suddenly and most likely permanently shifted towards a hybrid hybrid work, more flexi hours, more flexible work arrangements. The casual Friday somehow expanded. We don't really dress up in this dress code unless there is an occasion for that. And there are also new terminology that we see from great resignation, great reshuffle, the great reassessment, or even the quiet quitting, which I'm going to be touching base slightly. So in 50 years' time, from a very, formal 9 to 5 dress code and top-driven approach, office environment and workforce. Today we are in 2020s where it's significantly shifted. And also when you look at the timeline over there, you would realize that we are covering 3 generations as well. So talking about millennials and Gen Z, where we are today, we have to really look into, from a different angle, to understand what they expect in the work life and how we can be their preferred, employer or their choice of employer to ensure that the investments that we have for our biggest asset, which is our people, is actually providing a good ROI. Moving on, I'd like to bring in some numbers from International Labour Organization and touch base on the global unemployment rate. You would see that I've mentioned there is a 1% less than what we see in half level of last year. And that number represents 211 million unemployed people. I repeat, 211 million unemployed people around the globe who is either looking for a job or in the midst of changing their roles. The global unemployment, definitely there is a rise that we see, and the stagflation that the stagflation conditions do also threaten the productivity as well as the labor market recovery. A few reasons or a few highlights I'd like to mention is the tight labor supply that we mainly observe in the high-income markets. There is a group which is wanting to be employed but not sure, and they are not actively looking, so we call them either the quiet quitters or the ones who are in the stage of the great resignation, let's say. Long-term unemployment is no longer on demand. They want flexibility. Everyone wants to be as flexible as possible. There are many other obligations for women or for other vulnerable society, I would say, that is actually blocking them to enter the workforce. And when we talk about women in general, there is a very significant drop when we compare men versus women. Actually, for every economically inactive man, there are 2 that we are looking. So the ratio is 1 to 2, which is quite significant. More of a threat, I would say, is the young people, the group we are looking at, age between 15 to 24, who are just graduated, who are ready to just step into the workforce. They are facing significant difficulties in either finding or keeping up a decent employment. So the unemployment rate we see with the youth is actually triple on what we see in the matured workforce, which is also a big threat that we do observe that it's going to be impacting many of the industries. And another number that I'd like to mention is more than 1 in every 5 young people that are not employed, and they are either on the education or the training. Moving this, or maybe pointing it a few to the supply chain and logistics, the tight labor market prevalent across many sectors is also significantly observed in supply chain. There are niche skills, there are competitive market for significant or specific talent such as digital marketing, e-commerce, green skills, or Web3. And soft skills are all in high demand. We talk about reskilling and upskilling, and we usually refer to the hard skills that we can gain or change through education and training. But when we talk about soft skills, which is our the way we collaborate, the way we communicate with our people, with our peers and colleagues, is also quite in demand. For supply chain and logistics, it is even more when we consider the blue collar or the gray collar workforce that is coming into place. And bringing that even to Singapore, where we observe a high level of education and high expectations for those that have either just graduated from the school, the interest or the reason to apply for such roles is even getting lesser and lesser. With the evolution of workforce, and what I wanted to highlight about, the 2020s was about the corporate culture as well. It has been eroded and even further with COVID-19 and the entire pandemic period, where the sense of belonging, that camaraderie that we do usually observe in the workplace hasn't been happening for the last 2-3 years now, and that is putting even more pressure in creating that sense of belonging, in creating that team spirit, and really attracting them to be employed in our organizations. And again, if I refer to the blue collar and the blue and the gray collar workers over there, we all know that they usually work in silos. It's usually task-based, so they come into the picture, they do what they are supposed to do, 9 to 5 or in their shifts, and they can't really connect all the time the bigger purpose that the organization has and what they contribute as individuals while they are conducting their tasks. And about the young people, where I showed on the ILO figures as well, they are not really keen in certain industries, and I think it wouldn't be wrong to say supply chain and logistics is actually one of them as well. I would say this is more about the misalignment of expectations. They all want a high pay, but they also want flexibility with that, which they don't seem to have, an opportunity when we consider the supply chain and logistics industry. I'd like to touch base on another survey that we've conducted within Adecco. This has roughly about 34,000 respondents, so it gives us a good idea through the lens of those people who are both desk and non-desk workers, and that has been conducted across 25 countries. And a very important number I'd like to highlight here is 6 out of 10 job seekers are confident that they can find a new job in the next months or less even as recession looms. So there are many opportunities out there. Yes, there has been significant retrenchment, downsizing in certain industries, but as of today, there is still a high demand for workers, whereas when you look at the opportunities, it's even 2x, 3x compared to that. And 7 out of 10 do admit that either they see their colleagues resign or considering to resign, they are being impacted by that, and they are either resigning or considering to resign. It's a very deep subject. I'm not going to go into, how as parents we provide them certain, how to say, confidence that they can actually go and, start working when they are feeling 100% comfortable. But I think as leaders in this room, we all need to understand the mindset that these individuals are bringing and coming into the workforce. So there is a lot of job opportunities out there for them. They want a significantly good pay and quite a bit of flexibility in terms of where they work, how they work. I'm sure you would all agree when we think about how we wanted to bring our workers back to the office and we were being challenged. Even today, I do talk to people in certain organizations, which, bringing them 2 to 3 days to the office is still, part of those conversations happening. So if we add up all these in trying to convince and attract young people, talents to our organization, keep them, significant investments on them, it actually becomes a bigger challenge for organizations to achieve that. That's why I'd like to highlight that, and for every organization, it is vital that we do embrace an employee-first approach, and we do provide good financial support as well as a good work-life balance to those workers that we have within our organizations. Why I'm saying that? Because the studies, the researchers do show us that workers' expectations have actually evolved as the pandemic brought a refreshed views about the workplace and the workforce. And the great revolution is somehow contagious. And companies must, I believe, seize the environment at the moment to reprioritize their commitment to their people. And we need to evolve with times as well. We need to rethink our approach to flexibility, to try and create a more conducive workforce, a work environment, and really encourage collaboration. And we need to review job descriptions, reassess how we appraise our people, how we provide feedback to our people, enhance our reskilling and upskilling opportunities. And I think most importantly, ensure that the managers, the leaders, do have regular career conversations with their people, which is a crucial first step to start creating that engagement and sense of belonging with all those individuals. Again, since this is a conversation about the supply chain and logistics sector, I just wanted to bring a few more recommendations, mainly for this industry. So talking about the overall worker satisfaction and the loyalty, which is pretty much tied to the culture, there are actually several factors that I am aware as well. So if we put the wage inflation and potentially the looming recession as a backdrop, the report also showcases and points that there are solutions in certain key areas to reduce the turnover that we are facing. While salary is a very effective way to recruit and also retain our people, it's not only, the tool to allow them to stay within the organization. There are many other things that they are considering. So it's all about creating that work-life balance, the culture within the organization, and the sense of belonging that we create with those individuals. One thing I'd like to highlight, maybe especially about the supply chain and logistics industry, is whilst we have been observing a significant jump in the salary changes, I think in certain sectors like tech, for instance, we have been observing
close to a 50% increment year over year on certain roles. We also observe that that increment or percentage hasn't been fully reflected in supply chain and logistics. This doesn't mean that we should go ahead and, you know, look into a double-digit increment, but I think it's definitely something I would highly encourage and urge the leaders in this room to revisit when we have the right skill, the right job description, and the right pay. That is a big driver for those individuals to actually stay within the organization. So that was the survey I was mentioning. Again, out of the 35,000 correspondents that we have reached out to, 45% of them do mention that they will quit in the next 12 months to get a better salary. But the remainder 55%, which is bigger than the number that we are looking, is actually not even considering that, and they are happy with where they are and what they do. But we need to really look into ways of increasing the collaboration and the engagement with those individuals. So the strong company culture is definitely very important. And I think we need to drive the mindset change as well. And it has to be a top-down, a bottom-up, as well as a middle-out approach, where we don't only, you know, talk about what we want to do and how we want to do, but we let our people really buy in the idea to create the workplace that they feel that they are comfortable being at, and they are looking forward to come and, you know, work. So it becomes a top-down and a bottom-up company culture for those individuals that they want, and they have fruitful relationships with their colleagues and peers as well. So overall, I'd like to mention that, you know, it is a tough world out there when we consider the workforce, but there are many opportunities for individuals as well as organizations with slight changes within the workplace, within the workday, and the work culture that we create within the organization to really get the best out of that investment that we do our people within the organization. Scott, I'm not sure if we still have time, but...
Yes, we still have a few minutes. What we'll do is we'll quickly put a QR code up, which you can do, or we can do the old-fashioned way. We're not fully digital yet. We can have any questions from the floor for Betul. Hands, or stand up and yell. There we are.
There
Marcus,
is one.
you can yell.
Representative.
There's a lot of interest in it, and, you know, and there's a lot of programs in like the States and stuff that go into those programs. But people don't want to be warehouse workers, truck drivers, production line workers, which is the understandable piece. But in planning and central functions and that type of stuff, I think there is the interest. So have you seen the split between desk and non-desk?
Thanks for the question, Marcus. Actually, the survey has the detailed breakdown of desk and non-desk, and then goes into a further detail of industries. I'm more than happy to share if it's going to provide further insights. Again, I think it's fair to mention that we shouldn't only consider certain roles or certain profiles we're looking at, but the industry is also brings as a perception. So I'm more than happy to share the survey if you're interested in further details.
Okay. So this is the digital version of the Q&A. But what we'll do in the grace of time is that we will, Betul will be on the next panel as well. So if there is a further question about her presentation, feel free as well. So thank you, Betul. I appreciate talking today about some statistics.
My pleasure. Thanks everyone for your time as well.